Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about my past traumas. So, if you get triggered by sexual assault, people wanting to self-harm, and mental abuse, do not watch this video. If you only get triggered by one of those things, then you can watch this video, because before I start each section of those three things that I'm going to be talking about, I will in the beginning say, this section is about blah blah blah, and then you can just skip to like the other section or whatever. And I will be talking about it pretty much in that order, but the order I will be talking about it is the sexual assault first, and then the mental abuse, and then when I'm talking about the mental abuse, that's when me talking about self-harm comes into play. So yeah, let's get this video started. Okay, this part of my life story, my past traumas, there we go, is going to be about the sexual assault. Okay, let's jump right into sexual assault. If you see me looking down like this, it's because I have everything written down on a clipboard that I want to talk about. I covered up certain part of the clipboard because it has the people's actual real names on here. And of course, for privacy reasons, I'm going to put fake names. Just because these people, yeah, privacy reasons, like I said. Even though I really shouldn't care, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, so for the first one, it happened when I was about 2 or 3 years old. For this one, I'm not even going to give you a name or even a fake name for this one, because of the fact that I was 2 or 3 years old and I don't remember anything from that one. I only know about that one because I had asked my mom and she had told me about it. So that was one incident that happened, was when I was either 2 or 3 years old. Another incident happened, I don't remember exactly how old I was, but what I do remember is that I had to have been a teenager, or maybe a little bit younger than a teenager, because what I remember is that I was watching The Fairly Odd Parents. This sexual assault was from a family friend. We're going to name him Ed. So, I was over at my great-grandma's house because she was watching me for the weekend because I wanted to go over to her house. Well, my grandpa was not there. My grandpa was at work, and my grandma, she had to run to the store, which was in town, probably about 15-20 minutes away from her house, to get something for dinner because she had forgotten something the last time when her and I had went out to the store. I was in the middle of watching Fairly Odd Parents, like I said, and back then you can only watch those cartoons when they're on the TV. Back then you couldn't go on the internet and re-watch it because you missed it on the TV. So I was in the middle of watching a show, and it was a new episode, so I was like, Grandma, can I please stay here? And she was like, yeah, because your cousin and his friend Ed is outside, so yeah, you can stay here. So I was like, okay, cool. So my grandma had left. A few minutes later, Ed comes into the house, and I was in my bedroom, which is like just off of the living room. And Ed had went into the bathroom, which there was a bathroom also right out of the living room. Because my grandma, she lived in a trailer, so it's small. And I could see him, go into the bathroom. So I seen him, come down the stairs or whatever, and he had went to the bathroom. So I'm like, okay, whatever, minding my own business. And the next thing I know, after Ed comes out of the bathroom, like, I hear him wash his hand and everything. And next thing I know, Ed comes into my room where I am and sits down on the edge of my bed. And I'm just watching TV. And I look at him and I'm like, Ed, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, well, I was outside with your cousin and I just need to take a break. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Well, the living room's there, where the kitchen is. Like, obviously, you had to walk through it to get into the living room. I was like, so, go. Like, leave me alone. I'm trying to watch my show. And he was like, no, I'm going to sit here if that's okay. So I'm like, fine, whatever, just leave me alone. And next thing I know, my cousin, he pops his head in the door. Like, he doesn't walk all the way in, but he pops his head into the kitchen, which is where our front door was. And he was like, hey, Ed, are you coming back out? And Ed was like, yeah, I'm going to come back out in a little bit. I just need to take a break. It's hot outside. And my cousin was like, okay, well, that's fine. So next thing I know, Ed is sitting next to me. And he takes his hand and he, because I'm under the covers. So he takes his hand and he slips his hand under the covers and just starts like rubbing and touching on me. And I told him, I was like, stop, I'm not comfortable. And he was like, oh, shut up, you like it. And I was like, no, seriously, I'm trying to watch this. Leave me alone. No, I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable. Just stop. And he point blank looked at me and told me to shut up and to let him do whatever he wanted. So he proceeded then to touch not only my breasts, but my private area as well. What stopped him was the fact that he heard my grandma pull into the driveway, and he had went into the bathroom to then wash his hands and then go outside with my cousin. I did not say anything because I was scared, because he told me to shut up and he told me not to say anything. To this day, I have opened up about it. I have told people about it. But obviously, it's been so long, there's nothing that can be done. Another incident, a third incident that happened was with a family member of mine. This was my uncle. We will name him Todd. My Uncle Todd, I don't remember when it started, but I do remember that it ended in about either 2014 or 2015. But with my Uncle Todd, this always happened whenever we would go on four-wheeler rides. More specifically, whenever I would drive the four-wheeler, when we would go on four-wheeler rides. Sorry about that. I have a timer on my phone going for something. Back to what I was saying. This specifically would happen whenever we went on four-wheeler rides, more specifically whenever I would drive the four-wheeler. So whenever I went on four-wheeler rides with my Uncle Todd, I would like to drive the four-wheeler. And one time he put his hands inside underneath my shirt and slipped his hands down even further, claiming that his hands were cold. And I told him that I didn't care to stop it. I didn't feel comfortable. He then proceeded to tell me to leave him alone and not to say anything. So basically, the first time that happened, I did one circle around where we were driving, which was in the woods, and then I had left the woods because when I left the woods, we were going back home. So he couldn't do it no more. So whenever we were on the four-wheeler, I would always try my hardest not to drive so then that wouldn't happen. But sometimes I would get pressured into doing it from other people, from other family members. I am the one that stopped this cycle because I got old enough to stand up for myself and point blank say, no, I am not going on a four-wheeler ride with Uncle Todd because I don't want to. That's how that one stopped. The fourth incident also happened with an uncle, except this uncle was on a different part of my family. That's all I'm gonna say for that. This uncle, it happened in 2015, and it happened one time. Basically, with this uncle, you will name him Uncle... We will name him Uncle Socks because I don't know a real name to make up for him. So, Uncle Socks. This happened, like I said, roughly it had to have been 2015. And with my uncle, basically what happened was he took me on a trip for the day because he had told me that, you know, he missed spending time with his family, like his nieces and nephews and stuff, and he was spending time with each of them one-on-one because we all used to spend time together, like, when we were little. So I was like, okay, you know, I didn't think nothing of it. I'm like, yeah, let's go have fun. So he had taken me on a trip, and at the end of the trip, I was so exhausted, I fell asleep in the car because we were like an hour away from where I was living at that point in time. And so I fell asleep in the car, and when I fall asleep in the car, I'm not a heavy sleeper whatsoever. I am a very, very light sleeper. And I woke up to him with his hand inside of my pants, and you can use your imagination. My aunt was driving the car, and it was dark, and I didn't say anything because when I woke up and I looked at him, he went. So I didn't say anything, but when I did get home that day, the cops were called, and I tried to press charges on him, but because of the fact that I was over the age of consent, they didn't do nothing about it. And especially because it would have been a he said, she said case. So the cops literally did nothing. My state police even got involved because of the fact that we were driving and I didn't exactly know where it happened. And the state police did not even do nothing about it. Also in 2015 with the people that I was living with, something happened with them. Well, with him. We will call this person Taco. So I was living with Taco and his wife, and one day Taco took me to school because we had a 2-hour delay, and I still wanted to go because I was in BOCES. I still wanted to go to BOCES. So Taco, the one day, drove me to BOCES because I had to get ready for an exam that I was having the next day. So me showing up that day was very important because if I didn't, then I would have gotten, like, docked some points or whatever for my test because I had to prep the day before, which was when we had the 2-hour delay, so I would have missed that school. So Taco drove me to school. Well, instead of turning left into my school, he had turned right down the dead-end road. And he joked around. He's like, oh, I turned the wrong way, haha. I thought he was being serious. Excuse me, Taco, he was not serious. He purposely did that. And he had turned around, and after he turned around, he had put the car in park, and he looked at me, and he was like, because yesterday, me, him, and his wife, we were all sitting there talking about like how our day went and stuff, and he was like, oh, yesterday when we were all sitting down, you looked at me and you wanted to kiss me. And I was like, no, ew, wrong. Like, I don't look at you like that. That's gross. And he was like, no, seriously, you did. And I was like, no, I didn't. You're wrong. Stop. I said, just take me to school. I need to get to school. I have stuff that I need to get done. Like, take me to school. And he's like, well, I'm not taking you to school until you kissed me. And I said, well, I'm not kissing you, so you can stop. Just take me to school. And he was like, no, you're going to kiss me. And I tried getting out of the car. And he put his hand over and grabbed the car and pulled the door back shut. And he then proceeded to tell me, you are going to kiss me. And you are not going to say a word to anybody, because if you do, you are going to regret it big time. So I was like, no, I don't want to kiss you. Just leave me alone. And he's like, what did I just say? He's like, I will make your life a living hell if you do not do this. I didn't know what to do. He wouldn't let me get out of the car. Like, I literally felt like I was trapped. So I said, fine. I don't want to. And he did it anyway. He kissed me anyway, even though I said fine, but I don't really want to. I, like, just leave me alone type of thing. He did it anyway. He kissed me. And then he took me to school. I thought that was the end, but it was not the end. This went on for about a month, to where he would kiss me. And there were times to where his wife had to go to work or had to go out for an emergency to do something, and I was not allowed to go with her, and he would proceed to kiss me. And there was one time where he had even touched me, until one day, I don't remember how his wife found out, but the one day his wife found out, and she had questioned me or whatever. So I completely broke down crying the whole 9 yards, and I told her everything. And of course, like Taco said, she wouldn't believe me. She didn't believe me. I was in the wrong. And I was the one that kissed him first, and I was the one that convinced him to do everything. And that was not the case whatsoever. So I moved out of there, and I moved in with a cousin. Well, I had told the cousin that I wanted to call the cops. Well, the cops had said, I'm sorry, but there's nothing we can do. It's a he said, she said case, but do you want to proceed to press charges anyway? And I was like, well, you just point blank told me that there's nothing you are going to do because it's a he said, she said case. So no, I don't want to press charges, but can you at least like file a report stating that I made a report or whatever, so if something like this happens again, that I can be a witness to, like, yes, this actually happened. And he was like, yeah, I can do that. So I went with him to the station or whatever, filled out a report, and the same thing that happened with my uncle in the, previous story where I had called the cops. That's what ended up happening with him too. They had put my report on file, so if anything actually did happen, that they would call me as a witness. After that, another incident happened with my cousin's fiance, I guess you could call it. And we will call him Bean. Well, this happened also in 2015. Well, I had went over to my cousin's house, and we were gonna have a game night, and we were all gonna have like a few drinks or whatever. No, I was not of age to drink, but my mom was also there, going to be there like later that night. And my mom had given them consent, obviously, because she was there, that I could have a couple of drinks because she was going to be there. Well, basically what happened is I had went there early because where I was living, she had to go away, and she didn't want me, like, because at that point in time I didn't have a house key yet, so she didn't want me to leave her house unlocked. So I had asked my cousin, who lived right around the corner from her, I was like, hey, can I come over early? So-and-so has to leave. I don't have a house key, so she doesn't want me to just leave her house unlocked. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. You can come over now. So I went over there early, just hanging out with them, and I was playing on my computer. And my cousin, she was like, hey, I have to go to the liquor store to get the drinks. She goes, do you want to come with me? And I was like, no, I'm going to stay here. I'm in the middle of playing a game. I was playing Plants vs. Zombies on my computer. And she was like, okay. And she looked at her fiance, Bean, and was like, come on, Bean, she can stay here. And he's like, no, I don't feel comfortable leaving her here. I'm going to stay here with her if that's okay. And my cousin was like, yeah, that's fine. And Bean, he was already like 10 sheets to the wind. Like, he was already really, really intoxicated. So he wasn't going to drink that night. It was just going to be me and my cousin and my mom. And we were us three girls were going to play games. Like card games, board games, whatever. Because Bean was supposed to be, he was going to be going to sleep. Well, in my cousin's house, it went her front door, and then when you went into her front door, it was the living room. And then off of the living room was the kitchen, and then her bedroom, and then the bathroom was, you had to go into her bedroom to get into the bathroom. Well, probably about 2 or 3 minutes after my cousin had left, mind you, the liquor store was only literally right around the corner from her house. And she knew exactly what she was getting and whatnot. So basically, about 2 or 3 minutes after she left, Bean, he was laying down in the room. I had to go to the bathroom. So I had gone up and I walked to the kitchen, and they had these fancy, like, shade type of things blocking their bedroom off from the kitchen. But, like, they were see-through type of thing. And I was looking towards the sink, not looking in the bedroom, because I don't know what he's doing in there. Mind you, he's 10 sheets to the wind. So I'm looking straight ahead, and I was like, hey, Bean, can I come in? I have to go to the bathroom. And he's like, yeah, you're good to come in. I'm just laying here. I'm trying to go to sleep. So I was like, okay, cool. So I had went into the bedroom and went into the bathroom. And I'm sitting there, going to the bathroom or whatever. Well, after I'm done, I wash my hands. And I go out, and I go, to try to go back to the living room where I was sitting playing on my computer, when all of a sudden Bean pushes me onto the bed, and he tries, like, to kiss me, and here I am pushing him off. My legs were in the air because of the fact that he had just pushed me onto the bed. And I'm, like, literally trying to fight this dude who's 10 times bigger than me, and not really bigger than me because he's just a little bit taller than me, but 10 times stronger than me. Like, he was in the military and everything. Well, like, I can't get him off of me, and I'm fighting got my legs in the air, kicking, telling him point blank, get off of me, get off of me. Well, my cousin walks in because, remember, she only went around the corner, and she knew exactly what she was getting. And she noticed that I wasn't in the living room, and she hears me. So she runs into the bedroom and she goes, Bean. I almost said his name. She's like, Bean, what the F are you doing? Get the F off of her. But then, instead of taking my side, because she heard me saying, like, get off of me and stuff, she tried saying, like, I don't know if she still feels this way or not, but she tried saying that I was the one that did that to her fiance, and this and that and the third. And still to this day, she is not talking to me. And I have tried telling her on more than one occasion that I look to him as a brother, as, a guy figure that I could talk to about anything. I looked at him as a brother, not as anything more. Like, that is disgusting. And yeah, so that's the 6 different times that I got assaulted, sexually assaulted, some of them. Now for the next part. Okay, guys, for this next part, we are going to be talking about mental abuse, I guess, is how you put it. So basically, I was living with my dad and his wife, and she never really treated me, even before I was living with them, she never really treated me the best. She always made it very obvious that, you know, she would treat her kids, her, like, biological kids, better than me. She would always make that, like, really obvious to me. Like, for example, during dinner time, she would serve my dad's plate first, and then she would make their plates, and then, you know, the kids' plates, basically. And then, lastly, she would make her plate. Well, a lot of times, she would, you know, do that, and a lot of times she would get to me, and she would tell me, oh, well, you're old enough to make your own plate. Or if she did make my plate, she would give them a bigger helping than she would me. There were a few different times where, like, growing up, I used to eat, like, a lot. Especially when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I could eat and eat. But, hello, at that point in time, I was a teenager. I was going through growth spurt. And there were a lot of times where, not a lot of times, but like once or twice a week, they would get pizza. Well, I would eat and eat, probably like, 2 or 3 slices, and I would go to get another one because I'm still hungry, and she would look at me dead in the face and tell me, no, you don't need no more pizza, you've had enough. You're gonna get fat when you get older if you keep eating all this food. And I would look at her dead in her face and be like, no, I'm not. I exercise a lot, because at that point in time I did. Like, yeah, I ate a lot, but I also exercised a lot too, because I was in school and I went to gym and I would do like sit-ups and push-ups at home. So I would make up for it type of thing. And I would tell her, I'd be like, I'm hungry. Like, I'm still hungry. And if I was still hungry, she'd tell me, oh, well, go make yourself something else to eat then, because you're not having no more pizza. Like, everybody else only had 1 slice, or everybody else only had 2 slices, and you've had 3. But, like, nobody else would be hungry. I'd look at, like, my dad, and I'd be like, Dad, are you still hungry? And he'd be like, no, I'm actually full. And I'd look at my sister and my brother, and I'd be like, are you guys still hungry? And once in a while, they would say, yeah, I only want 1 more piece, or sometimes they would say no, and I still would not be allowed to get any. Hang on, you guys, my camera is actually going to die, so, not die, but the memory card's getting full, so hang on. Alright, sorry about that, guys. Back to what I was saying. Basically, growing up, this woman, she's always treated me very, very badly. One day, it stopped. So I thought that it was over, that, that I would be fine, and I thought that me and her would be good. And at one point, she had even pulled me aside because I was helping her outside hang stuff up, because it was summer and she needed help hanging the clothes outside on the line. So I was helping her, and she had even told me at one point in time, hey, sorry for the way that I treated you growing up. I know that it wasn't the best, and I know that I treated you different. So I just want to apologize. Like, I'm doing better now. I'm taking medicine because I realized that, that was not okay. So I started talking to somebody, and, I just realized that the way I treated you just wasn't the best. So I wanted to apologize. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Thank you. I accept your apology, and hopefully things will get better between us. And, she had agreed that hopefully things would get better. Well, eventually, I had wanted to move in with my dad and her because I thought that it would be better there, because I just did, honestly. And I knew that if I moved in with my dad, that I would be staying in one house, not moving around all the time, because no judgment to my mom, but that's what was happening with her. And, I was in middle school. I was at the end of my middle school career, about to start high school, and I just wanted to be in one high school for, the whole entire year, have the same friends for the whole entire year, graduate from one high school, and I knew that if I moved in with them, I would get it. So since I was on good terms with them, I thought that it was a really good idea. So I did. I moved in with them. My mom let me, and, she had went to court, and she had told the judge that, that's where I wanted to be, so she didn't want to stop me. So my mom let me move in with them, and then suddenly, that's when everything changed. She started being really mean to me again. Like, it got really bad. Like, I had gotten a job at Burger King that she helped me get. I'm not gonna lie. She didn't really help me get it, but she knew the hiring manager, and she had told the hiring manager, hey, my stepdaughter is looking for a job, and she put in her application, and she had given the lady my first and last name. So the lady had looked at my application, and she had hired me. That was my first job that I had, ever. I liked it there. I loved it a lot. And my stepmom, she had this rule since I worked at fast food, that when I came home, I had to shower. I am the type of person where I don't mind doing that personally. But I'm the type of person to where if I am hungry, I need to eat right then and there, because if I don't, I will physically get sick. I've been that way ever since I was little. So the one day, my dad, he had picked me up from work because I didn't have my license. And I had told my dad, I was like, Dad, I'm really hungry, and I didn't get paid yet, so I didn't have any money on me to grab something to eat from, work. So I had told my dad, I was like, Dad, I'm really hungry. I was like, when we get home, I'm going to grab a piece of bread, throw some butter on it, and eat it real quick, and then I'm going to go and shower. And my dad was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. So I get home, and instead of going upstairs, I go to the kitchen, and I grab a piece of bread, and I go to grab a knife, a butter knife, and that's when she starts yelling at me, and she's like, you know my rule. And I was like, yeah, I know your rule. I'm supposed to come home and shower, but I'm really hungry right now. I haven't eaten all day because the last time I ate was lunch, which was at 12. I was like, I haven't eaten all day. I'm really hungry. I'm just going to get a piece of bread and butter, and I'm going to go upstairs, grab my clothes, and I'm going to shower. And she literally told me no, that I was not allowed to do that I had to go and shower. And if I didn't, she was going to choke me and slap me. And I had told her, I was like, knock it off. I'm going upstairs to get my clothes so I can shower. I just wanted to get a piece of bread and butter first. And as like her and I are arguing, I'm literally buttering my piece of bread. Like that's all I wanted was a simple piece of bread with some butter. Takes me not even a minute to freaking grab the bread. Not even a minute to freaking grab a knife and throw some butter on there. That's all I wanted to do. So then I can go and get clothes. So then I can eat. So then I didn't throw up all over the place. Because that's how I am. And she was literally arguing with me, telling me, no, you're not allowed to do that. You have to shower before you can eat. You're not sitting on my furniture. You stink. So her and I literally got into a screaming match because of it. And I sat there, and I didn't sit there, but I stood there in the middle of the kitchen, which I wasn't planning on doing. But I stood there in the middle of the kitchen, just like this, eating the bread with butter. And then I went upstairs and got my clothes, and then I showered. And then after that, she looked at me dead in my face and told me, since you ate, you're not allowed to eat the dinner that I made. I said, I just ate a simple piece of bread and butter to hold my stomach over. Like, I'm still hungry. And she goes, well, you're not eating. So I went out to the kitchen and I got myself another piece of bread and butter. And then I went to bed. About a week later, I had gotten home from work. And I had showered and I ate. And I went and I asked my dad, because I was still hungry. I was like, Dad, is there any more, leftovers from dinner? I'm still hungry. And my dad was like, no, I'm sorry, all that was left we had set aside for you so you can eat it. I'm sorry if you're still hungry, like go eat some ramen noodles or, something. You can have something else, like I don't care. And I was like, okay, cool. And my stepmom looked at me and said, no, you don't need to eat anything else. You're going to end up fat. And like she was constantly fat shaming me, and like by all means, I was not fat whatsoever. I was skinny. Like, I was skinny. I was not fat whatsoever, but she was constantly telling me, no, you're not going to have anything else to eat because you're going to be fat. And at one point in time in the middle of that argument, she had told me that I was a whore. Even though I haven't slept, like, I wasn't even thinking about having sex at that point in time, like most of the kids my age were. Like, having a boyfriend to me meant that I have a guy that's my friend and we hug and we kiss, we cuddle, we go on dates. Like, sex was the last thing on my mind. But yet I was a whore. And she had told me that I was going to end up like a teen mother, like my mother was, and she had told me that I wasn't going to amount to anything in life. So, at that point in time, after her and I had that last argument, that's when I was like, okay, I am done, and here's the part where I talk about self-harm, so trigger warning. And if you can't stand this part, then just skip forward a little bit. I don't know how long to skip forward, but skip forward if you don't want to hear about this. But that's when I had considered offing myself. I tried cutting myself. Keyword tried. I couldn't bring myself to it. I had the blade and I had it to my wrist and I tried. I couldn't bring myself to it. I'm not one of those people. I couldn't. I left a couple of like scrapes on my wrist, but that was about it. I physically couldn't bring myself to cut myself. So the next thing that I really considered doing was a rope and hanging myself. I had the rope. I did. I had the rope hiding in my closet. My sister and I shared a closet, so I had to hide it. But I had a rope hiding in my closet. The only thing that stopped me from doing that was the fact that I had no place to do it. There was no place where I could attach that rope and do it. So I couldn't do that. So I did the next best thing. I stopped eating, which I know is not actually best, but I did. I stopped eating altogether. I got to day 4 and the school caught on because I got really, really pale because I stopped eating, and I was only drinking liquids a little bit. I wasn't drinking that much. And I had gotten called into the school counselor's office, and it was to the point where if I did not actually eat anything, that I was going to end up in the hospital for starving myself and dehydrating myself. So the counselor looked at me and she told me that I needed to eat, and I told her no, that I wasn't hungry, because at that point in time it was true. I just wasn't hungry. I couldn't bring myself to eat. And she called my dad, and my dad said, well, there's nothing that I can do. I tried getting her to eat. She wouldn't eat. She told me she did at school, so if she didn't eat at school, then I don't know what to do, because she won't eat for me either. And so the school counselor looked at me and said, what can get you to eat? And I had told her point blank my grandma. And she's like, well, your grandma's not on the list to pick you up. And my dad was like, I don't care. I will allow her grandma to pick her up if she will actually eat. So the counselor had called my grandma because I give her the number. And my grandma came and got me, and we had went to Burger King, and I wasn't going to eat, but my grandma talked to me, and I de-stressed about everything, and she got me to eat. I moved out of there the day before my 18th birthday, and that's when it stopped, or so I thought it stopped. Once I moved out of there, now with the mental abuse, it still happens, and actually it's currently happening. The current situation is basically she got mad at me because I did not do anything for her birthday. I did not tell her happy birthday when I've never have in the past, and if I'm being honest, I did one time. And it was only out of selfishness, if I'm being honest. It was because my grandma Ethel, my great-grandma Ethel, she had passed away. And I knew that if I didn't do anything for my stepmom's birthday, that it would cause a bunch of drama. And I was in the process of mourning my grandma, so I didn't want the drama, so I had just bought her a card and some chocolate and gave it to her so she didn't cause the drama. So I can mourn my grandmother the right way and not the wrong way. That was the only year that I did anything. And because of the fact that I am getting married this year, she's taking it out on me, and she said, since you didn't acknowledge me on my birthday, you didn't do anything, you didn't say anything, she goes, I'm not doing anything for your wedding. I'm not paying for your wedding cake. I'm not paying for your cupcakes. So I was like, fine. And I had called my mom, and I had told her exactly what she said, and my mom was like, okay, fine. I'll pay for your cake and whatnot. So I was like, okay, cool. And my mom, she made a Facebook status and said, you don't want to pay for her wedding cake, that's fine, I'll do it. And she tagged me in it. And that's basically all that she had said. And that status caused a lot more crap, basically. I also put up a Facebook status that day, and I had said that growing up, I hope my future children will never have the same past traumas that I did, and if they do, I hope they know that they can come to me and talk to me about it. Well, she had thought that my Facebook status was also about her, so she got really, really salty, And she was like, you and your mom shouldn't be talking about me on Facebook. And I told her, I was like, not that I have to explain myself to you, but my statuses were not about you. They were about when I got essayed. And I said, and as for my mom, I can't control what she says on Facebook, but it is true. She's going to pay for my cake. You guys don't have to. And she was like, Mercedes, you're being really rude, and your dad and I don't want to talk to you anymore, and we're not going to come to your wedding. Like, we don't want you in our lives no more. And since then, I have tried contacting my dad to see if that actually is the way he feels. And still to this day, he has not said anything to me. He has not called me back because I have called him multiple times. Lately, I've been calling him and he's been sending me straight to voicemail. So, I'm pretty sure he feels the same way. And if he don't, he's doing a real shitty job of not showing it. So, yeah. That is all of my past and I guess technically current trauma. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment them down below. Also, my DMs are open on my Instagram and on Facebook. I think they're open on Instagram. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Although I think for TikTok I have it closed off so nobody can message me because I've been getting a lot of scammers on there. But I'm pretty sure my Instagram and Facebook messages, I know my Facebook messages are, but pretty sure my Instagram messages are open. So if you guys ever want to talk about or vent or get advice, I can try and help you the best that I can. All my socials are linked right down below. Oh, my Snapchat. You can also hit me up on there. Add me on all my social medias. I got Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I even have Twitter, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't go on there. Like, the last time I was on there was like a really, really long time ago. I don't go on Twitter anymore, but I have an account. But yeah, all my stuff is linked down below, and you can message me on pretty much anything. Just don't message me on Twitter, I'm being honest, because I will not see your message for a very, very long time. But Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, pretty sure all of my DMs are open on all of those. So if you have any questions or you want to talk to me directly, hit me up on one of those and I will gladly get back to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.